Hello YouTube, this is Reverend Evan Sackett. The other day I was face to face with a piece of my past. Back between, I guess it was 1999 and 2003, actually 2005, I was a full-fledged needle addict. I was shooting up sometimes 7 times a day. Well, one of the people that I used to use drugs with was a 47-year-old man, and I didn't use drugs with him very often, but I did associate with him. He had 2 kids who later became addicted to intravenous drug use, and he had a wife. Now, from the outskirts, they appeared to be a very well-together family. They had a nice little trailer. It wasn't just a luxurious house, but it was decent on a nice piece of property. And the guy never had a job, so I wondered, how could this guy afford all this property with no money? Turns out that his parents were determined to shape him into an example of the perfect American man with a family. Even though he wasn't willing to work or do anything, they reluctantly paid for his home, his land, and his groceries and his bills, everything. They paid for all of it just because they wanted to maintain this illusion that their son was the epitome of what an American man should be. Well, anyway, all of that aside, last week I learned that he was in the hospital. Why? Because 2 weeks ago, he decided to shoot up in his foot because the veins on his arms were blown and scarred to nothingness. So, he decided to inject a syringe full of morphine into a vein in his ankle. Well, what he didn't realize was the syringe was filled with air. And anyone who has ever been an intravenous drug user knows that when you are pulling up drugs into a syringe, you have to get the air out of it. Well, he shot about a half a cc of air into his ankle, which caused an embolism, an air blockage in the vein that was in his ankle. It caused the blood that was coming in and out of his ankle to be starved of oxygen. So basically his ankle filled up, his whole foot, bottom leg filled up with deoxygenated blood, which caused his leg to start turning black. He thought that some penicillin would cure it right up, so for 2 or 3 days he searched reluctantly and endlessly for penicillin, was unable to find it. Finally, his parents persuaded him to go to the hospital. When he went to the hospital, the doctors counted over 300 track marks all over his body. They said it was more than they'd ever seen, and I could say that he probably got those in 1 week. At one time, I probably had that many tracks on me. But anyway, they told him there was a good chance he could lose his leg. It might be amputated, because a lot of times they have no sympathy for people that do things to themselves, especially a needle-using drug addict who doesn't at least keep clean works when he's shooting up. If you're going to do something stupid, do it right. But anyway, so here he is lying in the hospital with a leg that's on the verge of rotting off and having to be amputated. Then, the next thing happens. The flesh-eating bacteria sets into his rotting leg. So while he's in quarantine in the hospital, his idiotic parents decide to go pick him up from the hospital and take him home. So he's lying at their house, riddled with the flesh-eating bacteria, laying on their couch, and I'm not sure what happened to him after that. But it scared the fuck out of me and made me realize I could have been in that very same situation if I had kept on the path that I was on. And I know one girl that I encountered a few months ago, a girl that I've known for years. She keeps on and on telling me, I just want to shoot up once. I just want to experience it one time. Just one time. I laugh whenever people pull that one-time bullshit. I know it's a cliche. I know you hear it day in, day out on TV and all these anti-drug commercials and everything. But once you experience it, it makes you realize, hey, they were right. The problem in our society is it seems like we tell kids that if they try drugs just once, they're going to die. And when kids are faced with drugs and they try those drugs once and they don't die, they think, hey, everything I've been told about drugs is a lie. It's okay to do them. They say that marijuana is the gateway drug. I hate to admit it, but it really is. Not in a sense that when you start smoking pot you feel like you can start doing other drugs, but because you get introduced to people who sell pot. And very often people who sell pot will know other people that sell other drugs. You'll have a guy who's selling you pot, you go over to his house one day and he says, "Hey, I got these cool pills, you want to try these out?" You try them out and that's the end. Or maybe he had some cocaine. Or maybe he had some heroin. Or God knows what. I mean, the world of drugs is something that I'm very familiar with, and I can tell you that it's just there's nothing to it. It's just a bottomless pit. And I had yet to try a drug that I actually really enjoyed. You might feel good for 5 minutes, but afterwards you are going to feel miserable. It's just an awful, awful way to live, and it's a terrible way to waste your life. And it makes me sick when I hear people who are 22, 23 years old saying, "Don't follow my footsteps, man, I fucked myself up royally." They act like their lives are foobarred, and there's no way they can recover. But I've said this before, and I'll say it again, you can never be too bottom of the barrel to revive your life. As long as you're alive, there's hope. So keep that in mind. But I just wanted to share that story with you, so in case any of you thought about maybe shooting up, or trying it just one time, my advice to you is to watch a movie called Requiem for a Dream and pay very close attention to the guy who has that infected track mark on his arm. Have a good day.